So what's the deal with web workers? You'll hear people saying that JavaScript is single-threaded. The main thread, also known as the UI thread, will execute your code line by line without being able to execute lines in parallel. Despite this limitation, well-written JavaScript code is non-blocking and rather snappy thanks to an event loop-based architecture. I promise web workers will make much more sense once we have the basics covered, so let's quickly review this diagram. Imagine a user clicking on a button with an associated event handler. The handler function will be pushed into the callback queue first. The event loop is always monitoring this queue. Whenever the stack is empty, tasks are moved from the queue to the stack and code is executed. Any object needed during this execution will be allocated in the heap. This async callback-based model is what allows your code to run smoothly despite some long-running tasks like working with the network. In practice, whenever a call to the server is performed, the request is dispatched to the fetch API and the event loop clears the stack. When the response is available, a callback is pushed in the queue and will end up being processed when its turn comes. Okay, so this model works, but you can still run into scenarios when the UI thread becomes blocked. Imagine, for instance, placing a function like this one on the stack. Calculating the sum will take a few seconds even on powerful devices. While the for loop is executed, the function will stay on the stack and all other tasks will wait in the queue. Granted, it's not that often that you need to sum up billions of numbers. However, the reality of today is that modern front-end development interacts with AI libraries and complex WebAssembly algorithms, so handling heavy, intensive workloads might become a pretty common requirement in the near future. Next, let's look at some code. I defined a plain solid component with two signal values. The counter value is simply incremented when the +1 button is clicked. The answer to life value will take a while to compute, however, due to the time-consuming for loop. At runtime, we can seamlessly increase the counter, but once the getAnswer button is clicked, the UI will be non-responsive until the for loop is completed. Going back to the architecture diagram, whenever I'm clicking on the button to increase the counter, all callbacks will be pushed in the queue, but the event loop can't move them to the stack until the getAnswerToLife function finishes its execution. This is where web workers can help, since they run scripts in the background on separate threads. Compared to the UI thread, web workers have one big limitation: they can't interact with the DOM. This makes using web workers very similar to the experience of working with the network. So let's move our long-running task into a new script called answer.js. The main thread and the worker will communicate with each other via messages. To accomplish this, we'll wrap our worker code in a non-message function and we'll send the response back to the UI thread via the post-message function. Then, back in the solid component, we'll initialize a worker pointing to the answer.js file, and in the event handler, we'll replace the heavy computation with a simple start message sent to the worker instance. Then, we'll listen for any messages coming back from the worker, and when the response comes, we'll update the UI accordingly. Now, when we run this code, the counter listener is always executing, even though we also click the getAnswer button. Back to the diagram, this is possible because when the getAnswer is clicked, just a simple start message is sent to the web workers API. Then, the stack is cleared, and the event loop can move more work from the queue to the stack. Finally, just like we saw in the fetch API case, when the worker computation is ready, the response is sent via callback to the queue, and at some point, it will end up back in the stack where the UI will be updated. This video is part of a short explanation series where I'm reviewing various dev concepts we all should be familiar with. Please click the like and subscribe button if you are interested in more videos like this one, and until next time, thank you for watching.